Good morning folks, I can hardly open my eyes. It's 4:45 in the morning and we have got a long drive ahead of us today. So welcome to Mallaig folks. Leaving Edinburgh before 5 o'clock in the morning certainly has its advantages. There was no traffic at all. It was a nice clean run all the way up here. Took just about 4 hours on the dot. Over to my right, that's Mallaig train station. That's the end of the West Highland line. But no trains for us today. We're catching a ferry. Mallaig's alright, it's got everything you would need, but I always say its beauty is not in the town itself, but its location. You could be getting the train up here from Glasgow, the West Highland line, which is one of the most beautiful rail journeys in the world, or maybe the Jacobite steam train from Fort William. And then once you get here, you can just jump on a ferry to the islands. You can go over to the Isle of Skye or over to the small isles of Muck, Eigg, Rum and Canna. Always love those names. And today, we're taking a day trip over to Eigg. I'm actually really excited about today. It's the first time I've ever been to the small isles and I'm sure it'll be worth the 4-hour drive to get here. It's a bit of a hazy old morning, but the sun's doing its best to break through. But to be honest, this is probably the last of the semi-decent weather. Later on this week, the bad stuff's rolling in again.
The vessel is fitted with lifeboats, life rafts, life buoys and other buoyant apparatus, all of which can be manually launched or will float free in the event of the ship sinking.
Now we're underway, let's have a wee look inside the Loch Nevis. There is seating over 2 decks and a fairly uninspiring choice of food from the small cafe on the lower deck. It's certainly not enough to keep me hanging about and I always prefer to be out on the deck anyway. And in a still morning like we have today, outside is definitely best. As I've said, it's a bit hazy, but this part of the world is absolutely stunning in any weather, and today's no exception. We've got Rum and Eigg just ahead of us now coming out of the haze, and just over to my left you can almost make out the Cooling Range on the Isle of Skye. The crossing from Mallaig to Eigg takes about an hour and a half, but be sure to check the timetables as it isn't every day you can do a day trip like this. Also for this route I needed to book in advance even as a foot passenger, so it's always worth planning a wee bit in advance, although I only booked the day before for this trip. So here we are, welcome to Eigg. If there's one island I wanted to get to, this is the one. I've read up on it quite a bit and it's a fascinating island with a really colourful history. This commemorative stone was erected to mark the historic purchase of Eigg by the Isle of Eigg Heritage Trust, a unique partnership of the community, the Highland Council and the Scottish Wildlife Trust. 12th of June 1997. Yeah, so Eigg is the first community-owned island in the whole of Scotland. It used to be owned by a laird and he kind of ruled with an iron fist. And I don't think the locals were too happy about it. So there was a rebellion and the community took over. They had to raise a lot of money to buy the island, and I think there were donations from all over the world for them. And now it's one of the real success stories in Scotland. Hello.
So he should give it to me. Yeah, that makes...
As well as community ownership, Eigg is a superb example of renewable energy. They generate all their own power through wind, hydro and solar. And this is a template that's been copied all over the world now. Although there's not much wind today. You might notice that since I left the harbour it's been uphill all the way. That's because I've only got one thing on my mind today. And there it is folks, the Sgùrr of Eigg, a big block of pitchstone lava sitting 1200 feet above the island. I've only just noticed that when I actually shut up, it's so quiet up here. I still can't believe it's March. It's so hot today. Just be aware, even on a dry day like today, after a dry week as well, the path is particularly boggy and it's really energy sapping. Wow, that rock is something else. And I believe it was the result of a volcanic explosion on the neighbouring island of Rum. But that was a few years ago. All I've got to worry about is, how do I get up there? Big steps. I wouldn't like to do this in the wet. The volcanic rock forms these kind of natural steps. But don't be fooled folks, this walk is graded as easy I think, but it's certainly not a flip-flop walk. It's proper boot stuff. Oh, look at these views. That makes it all worthwhile. Alright folks, that's me heading back down again. I didn't spend too long at the summit, but I'm sure you'll agree the views from up there were well worth the effort today. Now I didn't time it exactly, but it took me maybe about an hour and 45 minutes to get to the top. So if you allow yourself 4 hours, you'll safely make it up and down again. But I just want to get back down to the wee community fairly quickly and have a wee explore before the ferry comes back. Just remember, if you're doing a day trip like me today, the ferry gives you about 5 hours on the island. So if you are wanting to do the Sgùrr, like I've just done today, it's pretty much all you'll be able to do. There are loads of other things to do on Eigg. There's caves to explore, some really quite magnificent ones, but that's for another day. Of course, the real reason I'm scurrying back down the hill as quickly as I can is because I've run out of water. So I need to buy myself some of those famous Eigg beers before the shop shuts. I must say, amazing music in the lively, friendly Eigg shop, but I need to talk over it for copyright reasons. Disaster, I went to the Eigg shop and they didn't have any local beer. They said to try the brewery. They said they don't think it's ready yet, but to try the brewery anyway. And it's along this road somewhere. The only thing I didn't ask though is how far along this road. No, I'm defeated. I just got the internet to work and it's halfway across the island. There's no way I'm going to make it there. And they probably won't have any beer anyway, so... No pal, egg means the edge in Old Norse language. It's nothing to do with chickens. Well, that was a really fun day and a very cool island, but I'm exhausted. These day trips, it's just not long enough. I need to spend longer in these places. I'm broken, guys. Although I am pretty chuffed that I went all the way up there today. As I head back to the ferry, I want to say a massive thank you for coming along today, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, if you think I've earned it.
Bright lights and colours, love is for the ones who dare to wait. No use in running, when all I really want is to make you stay. My mind says yes, you've been here for quite some time, but my heart tells me you should stay a little while. Are we at the end or are we at the start? 129 beats per minute from my heart. Anywhere we go is where I long to roam, night or day. I'm taking you all the way, 'cause my heart screams, let me carry you home. We are dreams, we are candles, we are lights, we are believers, we are safe with each other, with each other. But are we at the end? Are we at the end or are we at the start? 129 beats per minute from my heart. Anywhere we go is where I long to roam, night or day. I'm taking you all the way, 'cause my heart screams, let me carry